With each rising sun, the Afghan misery is multiplying. The Taliban, which has blatantly disregarded the components of the peace deal, has also failed at all fronts in providing even a basic lifestyle to common Afghans. Unemployment rate is growing sharply, and in the absence of job opportunities, people are forced to abandon their homes. The aid which Kabul has received so far has not just been enough. And despite all this, the new establishment is firm on its range of stances, including restrictions on women to imposition of archaic religious laws, which are not just impeding the common Afghan lives, but put a colossal barrier in front of a water nation.
The Taliban is relishing power. It is holding meetings with its close Islamic allies, apparently discussing the future of Afghanistan, the country in which the Human Rights Index has nosedived in the past few weeks. People are dying of violence and hunger. But the question is, do the Taliban care? The turn of events in past weeks suggest a clear no. If it wasn't for aid agencies that have delivered food, blankets and cash to hundreds of displaced families in Kabul as humanitarian assistance, thousands more would have perished. But even the assistance has an expiry date and limit. There are countries which are reluctant to release funds, for they are still unconvinced by Taliban's shallow arguments that it is going to work in the welfare of common Afghans. And those on ground are overwhelmed with the consistently growing numbers of displaced Afghans.
Basically, what we do in communities is that we conduct assessments to identify the needs of displaced persons, but also the needs of local communities. Then those needs are met through distributions of non-food items and food items like the ones you are seeing today. The assessments that we are conducting are continuous. The assistance to the Afghan people, especially those displaced and those returning from neighboring countries.
As winter approaches, the need for assistance has grown even more. With many having fled from the provinces and sleeping in tents or improvised accommodation around the city, the coming days could prove fatal. Displaced people have expressed that they are temporarily satisfied with what they are receiving, but also demanded more in the face of approaching winters.
دا منګه واغستل منګه نشو کولای چې په دې باندې جمع تیر کو جمع سخت او منګه بنور بندوبست نه لرو الله مشتری بولیت سم نشتری بای چې منګه سنور کومکونه وشي
تشکری میکنیم از بسیار خیر ببینن خاندهشان آباد که به ما کمک کردن ما نیاز به کمک‌های دیگه شان هم داریم.
Farmers and rural people displaced by drought, poverty has extended into the cities where widespread unemployment has forced many to try to sell their household goods to raise money. Going by the projections of international organizations, the number of displaced is going to witness an unprecedented rise in coming times. Many fear, in absence of jobs and cash, the economy, which is hanging at the brink of survival, is poised to collapse. UN estimates suggest that as much as 97% of the country's population could be plunged into poverty by next year in a worst-case scenario. Many groupings, including the G20, have been deliberating over the situation and have pledged to support Afghans. But the major question which arises here and will continue to stand firm is if the Taliban is going to mend its mode of operation. For it has refused to give ground on allowing girls to return to high school, one of the key demands of the international community after a decision last month that schools above the 6th grade would only reopen for boys. Reprisal attacks, freedom of speech and basic human rights are other issues that the group running the government hasn't so far come up with any answers.